We now move on to what ATI has been doing since the beginning. That is supporting graduate and undergraduate students via internships. Literally hundreds of students have experienced real hands-on experience with early-stage ATI companies, with many of these students going on to work for some of these companies, or at least helping them change the trajectory of their careers. And to help us to tell this story is a good friend, former ATI colleague, and many years ago, an a UT Austin MBA student, and actually he was an ATI intern many, many years ago. So he's got a lot of experience at ATI. Let's welcome Bart Bohn and his panel of former students at ATI.
Mitch, thank you. I appreciate you not telling all the stories, since we've are coworkers for way too long now at this point. My name is Bart Bohn. At one time, I was an MBA student. It was kind of during the dark days for entrepreneurship on campus. You heard a little bit of that. It was kind of actively being suppressed. And so for me, when I found ATI, it was this incredible eye-opening experience where all these startups and all this entrepreneurship, and it's a great place to learn. And so my first question for the rest of the panelists is, first, introduce yourself as we go down, but also tell me about how your time at ATI impacted your educational experience.
Let me start. So my name is Nisha Abraham. I was an ATI associate between 2012 and 2014, and I worked with the Bioscience Incubator with Cindy. Is Cindy here?
No, she got in late.
No. But the way that it affected my education was I had just completed a master's degree in biology and didn't actually know what I wanted to do. So it gave me an opportunity to kind of figure that out. So I spent about 2 years working with Cindy in the Bioscience Incubator, and it really changed my understanding of kind of what the landscape of Austin entrepreneurship looked like in the bioscience area. That wasn't something that I'd experienced before that. And I currently still work at UT Austin with the School of Undergraduate Studies, so definitely affected me for sure.
Hi, my name is Helen Brauner, and I was a student intern at ATI in 2003, so I think I'm senior on this panel. I was getting my MBA at UT and did my summer internship at ATI. I did it in the Clean Energy Incubator. Back then it was sort of separately branded subset of ATI. And it was a lot of fun. I worked with a couple of colleagues from my class, and I reviewed hundreds of business plans that summer. I think we helped NREL run a venture forum here in Austin, so I got to read extra business plans that summer and got a lot of exposure to startups, the people behind the startups, what it takes. They were so passionate about their technologies, some of which were great technologies and businesses and some of which weren't, but these people were great and they really cared about what they were doing. So it was a terrific experience, and it took that sort of case studies that you do in business school, which are great, and great applied material, but really bringing it to life with real people was a terrific opportunity.
So I'm Kristen Plymel. I'm an MBA at McCombs, class of 2019. I did my internship this past summer, and for me, the beauty of the internship at IC Squared and ATI was you get this really great base education at McCombs, but then you go to ATI and you get to dig into the things that you're super passionate about. I remember when I interviewed with Greg Pogue, he was like, well, what do you really want to do? And I was like, well, I really want to empower female entrepreneurs. And he just pointed ominously, and I kind of looked behind me. There was a poster behind my head that said Aspiring Women Entrepreneurs. We were running a pilot this last summer. And he was like, do you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, please, can I? And that happened so many times throughout the summer, whether it was with the ATI rebranding, it was whatever I wanted to get stuck into, I was encouraged and I had the freedom to just really go after it and put what I had been learning in class to work.
Hi. My name is Ryan Barcza, MBA class of 2015 and ATI intern class of 2014. The internship was really, it felt like the second half of my MBA experience. Prior to starting at ATI and getting my MBA, I was a consultant at a big firm, and I worked on large projects with sometimes hundreds of consultants, and that work was great, but I knew going into school I want to shift my focus towards small businesses and startups, and feeling like I had a more hands-on, direct impact in what I was doing. And I'll echo what some of my fellow panelists have said. While you're in the classroom, you're honing your skills in finance and marketing, and you're working on cases, but a lot of that's theoretical. And it was at ATI that I got to really apply everything I was learning in the classroom in a very hands-on way. I mean, you could solve, you're sitting right next to the people whose problems you're solving. And it felt very, it felt very real. And while I learned a lot in the classroom, for me, ATI was probably the most rewarding part of my MBA experience.
So the prior director, Isaac Barcza, used to talk about, we have two products at ATI, startups and the people that come through. And really the people that care about are the associates and interns and what it is they go on to go do. And so my next round of questions is, how did it change the trajectory of your career? What was that difference? What was that pivot point? I know it did that for me as well, so I'm curious to hear from you two as well.
Yeah, I'll just keep going. It was very direct. I knew I wanted to work for a startup after graduating, and in my role at ATI, I was the first review of all applications into the program, and then I was also a resource for all the member companies. So it gave me this amazing opportunity to get to know a lot of the startups in the Austin community at that time, and kind of interview them before they had a chance to interview me, and kind of see if I thought there might be a good fit there. And then, eventually, it was Bart who introduced me to the CEO of a member company, Matt Wensing. He was on the 25th anniversary video earlier. The name of the company's Risk Pulse, and we really hit it off. And it was through that introduction I got hired, and 4 years later, I'm still there as VP of Business Operations. So had it not been for ATI, I wouldn't have my career today. So I feel, super, super lucky to have had the opportunity to be here. It's amazing.
Helen, you've been doing some great work for years as well.
Don't say how many years. Yeah, I was thinking about it tonight and should have realized this earlier, but my whole career is because of ATI now. So I've been in clean energy since that internship. So those were the early days of clean energy, but I was hooked. And thanks to that experience, I went to work for Green Mountain Energy, which is a renewable energy retailer. Did that for 9 years. We sold the company to NRG. Then I did some consulting for a number of years with some startups in clean technology. And now I work for 7X Energy, which is a utility-scale solar developer based here in Austin, a startup from a local entrepreneur, Clay Butler. We've developed what will be the largest solar project in Texas, 500 megawatts, and we're building large projects across the U.S. So it's been a fun ride, and thanks to ATI for exposing me to this amazing industry.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And for me, I was able to hang on and actually work there for a while, which meant I had a platform to go do whatever I wanted, as long as I took care of just enough companies. And it led me to found 2 more incubators, an accelerator, and 3DS as well. So it's, the longer you can stay around the group, it's a fantastic platform to do those kind of things. So if we have more time, I'll see Mitch trying to come up and yank us off. Fantastic. Oh, this didn't get fun then. So when you showed up and you're this bright-eyed associate, what was the biggest surprise you had, when you walked into the incubator and the startups are running around and the directors are doing whatever it is we did?
Every day was a surprise. You never knew what company was going to come in the door, what pitch you were going to hear, who you were going to work with, who was going to show up, what meeting you would get dragged into. Mondays are famous for just, you go to the meeting one with Mitch and you just follow him around for the rest of the day. We're going to Austin Energy, we're going here, we're going there. So it's no matter what plan you had for that day, when you showed up, just forget about it.
I would add that it's hard to remember that long ago, but I was surprised at how much responsibility we were given as graduate students. Thank you, Richard Amato, for giving us that responsibility. We felt like we were running the show sometimes, and it was a lot of fun to be able to just act like experts.
Yeah, I would probably echo the same thing. I think I was really surprised to come in and really valued being considered a peer, and that we were given a lot of responsibility. That was something that I think I've taken on to answer the previous question as well, is the responsibility I was given then sort of changed my perspective of what I was capable of doing, so taking on more leadership and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, absolutely, the networking part of it, and I think some of the camaraderie, Ryan and I we overlapped quite a bit, and I think some of the camaraderie of the associates, despite us being in different parts of the incubator, we all really bonded together a lot, so it was great.
Yeah, I was shocked people actually listened to me as entrepreneurs, and they still do. And it's like every day, it's a blessing, and it takes me back to that time the first entrepreneur let me draw on a whiteboard, and they followed me. That was cool.
Yeah. Again, I'd echo what everyone else said. But the caliber of the companies was really shocking. I mean,
In a good way or a bad way?
in a good way. In a good way. Again, like, they're listening to us. I mean, we're getting the opportunity to give them advice, and they're eager to hear it. Whether it's working on a marketing plan or building a financial model, whatever it is, we're having that very, very hands-on, very direct impact to help them solve their problems. And then again, it was just very surprising they were willing to listen to us when they're coming up with these amazing ideas that really floored me.
That's great. And so hopefully this was just a good little snippet of the impact that ATI has had on the hundreds of students that have come through over the years. I'm sure there's dozens more throughout the audience over the different years. And I know the very first person I met when I showed up in Austin interned at ATI back in the mid-90s with Laura. And he was so generous and kind to me, and hopefully that continues to get passed forward as we bring more and more associates through. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what a great story. And we have so many more of those stories. Thank you, Bart, Nisha, Ryan, Helen, and Kristen. We had so many choices of former ATI students to represent this program, and we obviously chose well. You make us proud.